Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel and today 30 of our 31-day yoga challenge. So for today's video, it's going to be more of a tutorial. I'm going to show you my tips and my tricks for downward facing dog. So down dog is probably the asana that comes up the most in our yoga practice. We'll often transition through downward dog, but it's also a really great asana in its own right. It helps lengthen all of the muscles in the lower body whilst really creating strength in the upper body. But sometimes it can feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially if we're holding it for a few long breaths or anything like that. So I'm going to give you some tricks that might help you out with your practice. So one of our tips today is going to be using a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, maybe find a cushion, maybe a little bit of a firmer cushion, so it's not too soft. You'll see why when we get to it. But yeah, we'll get to that in a little while. So to start off with, I'm going to talk about finding your perfect plank, because if you come into your plank and then go into your downward dog, you'll often find that you've got it spot on. So we're going to start by coming all the way over onto all fours. Now, as always, if all fours doesn't feel too comfortable on the knees, just tuck the toes under. We're going to be tucking them under for plank and for downward dog anyway. But let's start with the hands. So we're going to take them shoulder width apart. A lot of people think that shoulder width apart is a lot wider than it is. So as you can see, if I take my hands out here, they're not in line with each other. So really just become aware of it. So it can feel quite narrow to start, but then you can really see that the alignment of the shoulders and the wrist is spot on. So that is my first tip. My second tip is to spread the fingers as wide as you possibly can and then press down through the knuckles. So imagining that you're sending the weight all through the fingertips. A lot of the time, students come to me and say that in their downward dog, they get a lot of wrist, not injury, wrist discomfort, achiness, things like that. And quite often that's because you're dumping the weight into the wrists rather than pressing down through your knuckles. So that makes a huge difference. And that might be all that you need to do for your downward dog to help you feel really comfortable here. So spreading the fingers nice and wide. So the difference between dumping into the wrist, if you dump into the wrists, you'll find that you're like this. You're really applying a lot of weight and your fingers can move quite freely. If you're pressing through the knuckles and then pressing into the fingers, you'll instantly feel that those shoulders keep tracking over the wrists and the fingers aren't going anywhere. You can't lift them up. So that's a good pointer to notice. Keep spreading them wide and really spread the thumbs as wide as you can so they start to point towards each other. Now we're going to tuck underneath the toes but extend the legs so you find your plank. You need to come forward a little bit. So finding your plank position. Now the feet are hip distance. Same again, a lot of people think that hip distance is wider than it is, but it's actually quite a lot narrower than you think. We're going to engage through the core. Squeeze the butt, really press into those hands. Now once you've found your perfect plank, relax those shoulders back, bend the knees and send the chest towards your thighs. So this is a variation of downward dog. Now if you're dumping into the wrists, you might feel pressure through the wrists and through the shoulders. If you're pressing into the knuckles of the hands and through the fingertips, you'll find it easier to open the shoulders, relax them, and then send the eyes of the elbows towards the top edge of your mat. So you really create this opening through the heart, through the back. So options here, you can stay here, really lift the belly, so lifting the navel, and you can just start to drop one heel down and drop the next. Still pressing into those palms. Still breathing, dropping the chest. Now my biggest tip here, if the legs feel really tight and uncomfortable, start with your knee bend, really driving the tailbone high and softening the heart towards your thighs. Really pressing into those fingers. Good. Awesome. So I'm going to show you with the yoga block. So another thing to note, in your downward dog, a lot of people think that it's going to be this really relaxing asana. Actually, it's still a very active asana, and I think as you instantly start to switch on these thoughts about, okay, are my knuckles pressing down into the mat? Am I sending the weight through my wrists? Do I need to come forwards? Is my stomach engaged? Am I squeezing my thighs? Almost like a mental checklist, because often you hold your downward dog for a little bit of time. So yeah, maybe run that through as a checklist, and then you'll just naturally start to do it. Another good tip is to take your yoga block or your pillow, and we're just going to place the yoga block onto your stomach and then fold forwards. So the goal here is to not let this yoga block drop. It keeps you really aware of the muscles that you're squeezing and engaging and keeping super active. So it's a nice little yoga drill for you. So again, shoulders over the wrists, spread the fingers, lifting the hips. Pressing into your palms, into the knuckles, not sending the weight through the wrists. Option, taking your knee bend, really squeezing that yoga block towards your thighs. If you're lengthening, you'll find that the yoga block is going to want to start to slip out. So what muscles do you need to engage? Do you need to lift the tailbone higher? Do you need to engage the core muscles? And then gradually you can start to lengthen through the legs, through the body, and just find what feels really good, really yummy. Check in with the shoulders. Can you relax them? If you're finding it hard to relax, maybe you need to send the weight through the knuckles a little bit more. The eyes of the elbows, can you turn them forwards? Yeah, that will help relax those shoulders, create that opening. And then very slowly release it down. Take the block or your cushion out and just circle through the wrists for me. And give the arms a nice shake out too. Take the legs out in front, give those a good old shake up and down. Rock the feet from side to side and circle through the ankles. And then slowly relaxing, coming back into your Sukhasana, your easy pose. So those are just a few of my tips for downward dog. Those are things that have really helped me in my own practice. As always, it's going to take time, you'll gradually get there. I still struggle to drop my heels all the way down to the mat, so I really have to work on warming up through my ankles, through my calf muscles, everything like that. It is a journey. So yeah, try them. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you get on, if it changes your downward dog, and just remember that mental checklist. I will leave the mental checklist in the description box below, so you've also got it there for reference. Otherwise, lifting up nice and tall, relax the shoulders, take a nice big breath in, and exhale the hands to the heart. One more, inhale, and exhale. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you in tomorrow's video for our last Yoganuary video. Namaste.